Hey everybody, it's Michael from GetFitOver40.com, and today I'm doing another TRT video entitled Natty or Not, kind of self-explanatory. The reason I'm doing another TRT video is because, well, it seems like people really like them. I get a lot of views, a lot of people comment in those videos. There's a lot of feedback, and to be honest, I like to be transparent here. I do get a little bit of a kickback from the Royal Medical Company that basically I link to. So I have a discount code, and you can see that at the end of this video. It's GFO40, and that gives you about a $45 per month for a certain percentage a month. It's not the whole time, but it gives you a little bit of money back. So if you use that code, you do benefit a little bit. I benefit a little bit because they track that and they give me a little bit of a commission, and it makes everything worthwhile for everybody. So transparency, want to be honest, I will put a link at the end of this video if you're interested in that. Okay, so here we are in a world full of natties. I'm going to read this, by the way, because I'm getting old. I don't remember things as much. I don't want to miss anything important, and I always put this written version on my website because some people learn better from reading. Some people learn better from just watching and hearing. So you can choose whichever version you want. You can listen to it and then read it and get all that information absorbed, okay? So let's start out here. In a world full of fake natties, is being on TRT just an excuse to be on steroids, right? A lot of people say that, and to get all the benefits of steroids, but still being able to claim being natty or natural. Now, I'm sure there's lots of people who should be or need to be on TRT because their bodies just are not producing enough testosterone to be in what is called a healthy range. So we're going to be talking about TRT and being in the healthy range. And what that generally means is if there's a low norm and a high norm, you want to be at least in the middle. And, I would even suggest being on the high normal to get the most benefit out of it. If you're going to be on it and being injecting or taking pills and paying for it and seeing a doctor and all that stuff and getting blood work, you might as well put yourself at the higher norm because, unless you're getting side effects there, but, if everything's working out good, you're going to get the most benefit from it. Okay, so let's talk about what that healthy range is, and it can be many things. So the first thing is if you're a man or a woman, there's going to obviously be different ranges of what's normal or healthy to be in those testosterone levels. And yes, women sometimes need testosterone as a supplement, as something the doctor prescribes, not just estrogen or whatever the doctor will prescribe you for things like menopause. Menopause can actually bring issues where you have low testosterone, or even just being on birth control can lower testosterone. There's a lot of reasons why a woman can have low testosterone, and she can suffer similar to a man with low libido, low energy, all of that stuff, low, just not feeling great, always not recovering, retaining more body fat and things like that. So by giving a woman testosterone, what a doctor will essentially do is bump up the testosterone and even bump up the estrogen. So if she suffers from both hormones being low, testosterone is like a one-stop type thing. You put that in, and similar to men, we convert testosterone to estrogen and DHT. Women will do the same. They'll convert that testosterone to estrogen, bringing it up. Okay, so that's number one. That's a healthy range is dependent on your sex. And another, obviously, is your age. So you can't compare natural or normal levels of a 20-year-old to a 70-year-old, for instance, because a 20-year-old is going to have higher levels of testosterone than a 70-year-old. They're going to go down. So there are normal ranges for both age groups. Now, you could argue that maybe it would be good for a 70-year-old to have similar testosterone levels to that of a 20-year-old. And I guess that's another video. Maybe we'll make a video talking about that. Would it be better for a 70-year-old to have levels similar to a 20-year-old? Is that a good thing? Would they benefit more? Would they have more strength and energy and hopefully, not too many side effects? Obviously, as you age, you have to worry about things like prostate. So TRT can essentially inflame the prostate. The testosterone can do that. So that's something to consider. So that's another discussion perhaps. And geography. So the other thing is if you live in, say, Canada versus the US, the normal ranges are going to differ because they have different doctors, different healthcare systems, different rules. And so you might have a normal range slightly higher or lower in one country than the other. So these are things to consider. All right, so let's say you find yourself with low testosterone and your blood work shows this to be true, and you feel the symptoms of low testosterone, which can be lack of energy, so low libido, a hard time recovering from physical activity, fat gain, sleep disorders, depression, the really bad one, erectile dysfunction, that would obviously be for men, not women. And there's a bunch of other things that can come into play here. I'm just listing the most common ones. Now, it would only make sense to get this looked into for better health and well-being, right? You want to feel good physically and mentally, and testosterone plays a role in that. Now, after all, being on TRT is a medical solution for people with low TRT. Much like if a woman is going through, say, menopause and requires supplementation of hormones, or even if you're on drugs for, chemical disorders, maybe depression, even things like low thyroid. There's all these different, drugs and hormones that you can take that don't have anything to do with testosterone or muscle building or any of that. So, if you're low on these things, it's not just, it's not just testosterone. It's all kinds of things that you need to look at and get in those healthy ranges to have good overall health. So let's get back more to the topic of this video. Why is it that people think that just because a person is prescribed testosterone by their doctor to get them back to the normal, we're talking normal ranges, that somehow they are cheating and have superhuman powers now? Now, I'd go so far as to say that most men on TRT would be hard to pick out, since being in normal ranges will not make you look jacked or give you those superhuman strength and powers. Now, yes, if your testosterone was really low, going on TRT will help you gain some muscle back for sure. I mean, obviously you've lost muscle because your testosterone's low. You're going to gain a little bit back, whether it be 5 or 10 pounds, and you're going to get a little bit more muscular. Depends on how much body fat you have. You might not even see it. A lot of people, you don't even see it because the body fat is kind of covering it. They just gain a little bit of overall weight, but they will get stronger and feel better. And it should bring you back to where you should have been, okay, if your testosterone levels were in the normal ranges. So it's an issue of you've got low testosterone, you've lost muscle, you've lost strength. We're now talking about getting back to where you should be or should have been all along, okay? Yes, you do gain strength. Yes, your bench press will go up. Yes, your squat will go up, right? Now, if you're training hard in the gym and say you weren't before, you're going to make even better gains than you would normally have, because you're going from a very, weakened state to a much more normal physical state. All right, I think the main reason why people get all up in arms when people claim they are on TRT, but still claim to be natural, is because many of these so-called natties, that's what they're called in the fitness community, natties, or fake natties actually, simply do not look natural. This is because most of these people, I'm not going to say all, the genetics play a role. Some people are just like freaks and naturally just have not even necessarily more testosterone. They may have it, but they just genetically have muscles that build easily, that respond to weight training. And you can't compare yourself to everybody out there. It's really not the thing you can do. Everybody's different, right? But, let's just say they're abusing TRT because they are, they're saying they're on TRT, but they're abusing the TRT by adding in additional testosterone. Now, maybe they only get X amount from their doctor. You can get it, I'm sure they can get it from other suppliers, and they can boost it up, right? And say their prescription is 150 or 200. Now they're taking 400, 500 a week, right? And then they could even be taking other hormones, other PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, SARMs, human growth hormone. There's a whole myriad plethora of things they could be adding to it over and above their TRT, which they do happen to be on, so they're not lying about that. They're just not telling you what else they're taking, right? So I'm going to say no argument. These people are not natty at all. They're definitely in the super physiological levels of hormones, and they're going to be jacked. As long as they're training and eating right and doing all the right things and dieting, they're going to look really amazing and not the results you would expect from regular TRT. So there's one thing I want to cover, because I've made videos about, is being on TRT a benefit in the gym? Is it going to make you stronger and, more shredded and everything than, say, somebody who's natural, but in the same, range when it comes to testosterone levels? So let's just say that these two people are in the same ranges. They get their blood work done, say, so a normal, natural, not on TRT gets his blood work drawn, in the morning typically is when they do it, and because that's the highest levels. And then the, say, TRT guy's getting his blood work done between the two shots. That would be the best place to take him. So not when you first get your shot, not right before the next one, but right in the middle would be a good indicator of where your average is. Okay, so let's say we have these two people. So essentially what's going to happen here is the true natural person will be producing small amounts of testosterone at different times of the day, which can make their testosterone fluctuate from hour to hour. So what I'm trying to get at here is the argument is when you're on TRT, your levels are more consistent. When you're natural, they're going to go up and down. They're going to vary because your body's producing it. It kind of spikes in the morning, goes down. It might spike another time of the day depending on what you're doing. Whereas when you're on TRT, the levels are consistent because you've got this exogenous hormone in your system that stays level. Now that idea is a good idea, but here's the problem I have with it. So most people on TRT don't get their shots once a week because they usually go into the clinic or the whatever. Some people do it at home. But a lot of times they're getting their shots twice a month or even once a month, okay? So what ends up happening is they get their injection and they may even be higher than normal for the first little bit. But testosterone generally has a half-life of a week. So if their injection was, say, let's just say it was 200, because they're going to go for 2 weeks on 200, then at 1 week, they're now at 100, and by week 2, they're at 50 milligrams, okay? So now they're riding on a much lower level of testosterone, so they started a little high, then they were down here in the 100, and now they're in 50, which may be even on the low side, okay? So the average would be more like 100, which is probably where they should be to be normal. So yes, for a few days, 200, and then boom, now they're at 100, and now they're at 50, which is low. So the average, again, averaging out about 100. So there is fluctuation. Now, if it's a monthly shots, they might get more than 200. Maybe they're getting 300, but that's going to average even lower, okay? And by the time they get to a month before they're, a month away from their last shot, they're getting their next shot, their testosterone is really on the bottom here, okay? So yes, both natural and TRT, there's going to be fluctuation in testosterone. It's just the way it is. Unless you're microdosing every couple of days, you're going to get fluctuations in testosterone. All right. Now, what I also want to point out here is I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe it's not really a day-by-day thing. So your testosterone levels by hour or by day or necessarily even by week are less important than the average over time. And why I say that is because when a person goes on TRT, they generally won't feel it. There might be that placebo thing in their head where they feel, oh, I feel amazing. I just got my shot yesterday. That's really not the case. Generally speaking, what I find is most people say, it took a good month before I really felt better and I felt like I was seeing the benefits of being on TRT. And it can even take longer. It can take a month to 2 months to really notice the benefits. So what that tells me is that you need to sustain a certain level of testosterone in your system over time. Those little fluctuations really don't matter. I don't believe they do anyways. I think that they don't. All right, so at the end of the day, plain and simple, if you are on TRT, you're not really natty since you're not making the bulk of your testosterone naturally. So no, you're on TRT, you're not natty. I'm not going to argue with anybody over that. That said, if you are at a normal healthy ranges or while on TRT, you're at normal healthy ranges, I feel there is little advantage over a person, maybe even no advantage, with similar testosterone levels making it naturally. Of course, if you are taking more testosterone than you need, putting yourself into above average or super physiological ranges, then you will be getting benefits from that TRT that isn't really TRT, because now essentially you're more like at bodybuilder levels of testosterone. And that's not TRT. If you're like, I'm going to say anybody over 200 is starting to get there. Now, not everybody responds to testosterone the same. There are people out there that might need to take 400 to have the same, levels when they get their blood work. But they're the outliers. Typically speaking, anywhere from 100 to 150 to as high as 200 per week is considered kind of normal. I've even seen people as low as 75 to 80 milligrams. But I think that's on the low side. And if you're gonna, that might just put them just above low normals if they're really low. I would say you want to shoot for, mid to high normal ranges. So I would encourage you to do what is right for you and don't worry about what other people think. You don't need to tell people if you're on TRT, if you're natty or not. It's really none of their business. Just don't go make like a 3-month transformation video just after you got your on TRT saying that it's a natural transformation. Essentially, that's what's adding the fuel to the already burning bonfire on the internet of these fake natties and TRT and how it's, abusing testosterone and how people shouldn't be on it and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of people getting up in arms over it. So let's just calm down a little bit here. Take it for what it really is. It's a medical treatment, and that's what it's supposed to be unless it's being abused, okay? So all that said, if you're interested to find out if TRT may be right for you, you can check out the link provided. I'll put a link in the description here to get your blood work done. So you do have to pay money for this. This is through the Royal Medical Clinic. So you do that, but you will get a discount if you use my code GFO. So GFO, which is Get Fit Over 40. That's the discount code, and it's for U.S. residents only at this time. I don't have a Canadian one set up, maybe in the future, but you'll save $45 per month. And you know what? If that one doesn't work for you, you don't like them, I would suggest check out other ones too, right? And see if someone else's or some others provider, TRT clinic in the US or wherever it might be. There are some in Canada, by the way. It's starting to kind of become a thing in Canada. It really wasn't for a long time, but it is gaining a little bit of momentum here. There are clinics that really specifically deal with TRT and hormones and things like that. I'm not sure exactly how they go about it. It's still through the medical system and all that. So there are, you will have to get your blood work done and be within specific ranges in order for that to work out. All right, thanks for watching another GetFitOver40.com video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.